Assalamu alaikum, adab, and a very good morning to all of you. वर्ल्ड एनवायरनमेंट डे पूरी दुनिया में जून 5 को मनाया जाता है। कुछ वजूहात के चलते इसके मुशाहिदे में कुछ ताख़ीर हुई और आज मौलाना आज़ाद नेशनल उर्दू यूनिवर्सिटी के स्कूल ऑफ साइंसेस की जानिब से मुनक़द वर्ल्ड एनवायरनमेंट डे के प्रोग्राम में मैं डॉक्टर इरा खान आप सभी हाज़रीन जो हमारे साथ ऑनलाइन और ऑफलाइन जुड़े हैं उनका खैर मकदम करती हूँ। आज के इस ख़ास दिन के मुशाहिदे के लिए खुसूसी लेक्चर और सैपलिंग प्लांटेशन की तकरीब का इनेकाद किया गया है। इस प्रोग्राम को आगे बढ़ाते हुए मैं गुजारिश करना चाहती हूँ तमाम डिग्नेटरीज से कि वो डाइस पर तशरीफ़ लाएँ। हमारे वाइस चांसलर साहब जनाब प्रोफेसर सैयद ऐनुल हसन साहब, हमारी मेहमान खुसूसी मोहतरमा फरीदा तमपाल साहिबा, जनाब वामशी कृष्णा साहब, स्टेट डिप्टी डायरेक्टर WWF इंडिया, हमारे डीन स्कूल ऑफ साइंसेस जनाब प्रोफेसर सलमान अहमद साहब, नोडल ऑफिसर वर्ल्ड एनवायरनमेंट डे जनाब शकील साहब, इस प्रोग्राम के कन्वीनर जनाब डॉक्टर कासिमुल्लाह साहब। मैं आप सबका से गुजारिश करती हूँ कि आप लोग यहाँ डाइस पर तशरीफ़ लाएँ। ठीक है सर। अब मैं गुजारिश करना चाहती हूँ हमारे स्कॉलर से मोहसिन कि वो हमारे साहब जनाब प्रोफेसर सैयद ऐनुल हसन साहब को सैपलिंग प्रेजेंट करें। नाहिद हमारे प्रोग्राम की मेहमान खुसूसी मोहतरमा फरीदा तंपल साहिबा को सैपलिंग जी मैं गुजारिश करना चाहती हूँ हमारे PVC साहब जनाब रहमतुल्लाह साहब से कि वो भी डाइस पर तशरीफ़ लाएं। और ज़फ़र से मैं गुजारिश करना चाहती हूँ कि वो जनाब वामशी कृष्णा साहब को सैपलिंग प्रेजेंट करें। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। अब मैं गुजारिश करना चाहती हूँ हमारी IMC टीम से कि वो मानू का तराना पेश करें।
ये जामियाए ज़बान उर्दू, ये जामियाए ज़बान उर्दू, ज़बान उर्दू का आशिया है, ज़बान उर्दू का आशिया है। ये जामियाए ज़बान उर्दू, ये जामियाए ज़बान उर्दू। कलाम सारे है दर्ज रूह में, कलम से उतरा हुआ बदन है। ये इल्म का शहर घर है मेरा, मेरा मदरसा मेरा वतन है।
तालीम का मौसम है, तहजीब की फसलें हैं, हम रोशनी करते हैं, सूरज की नस्लें हैं।
उर्दू की उड़े खुशबू गुजरे दिन इस जमीन से, जो दाना गुजरे थे इस जमीन से, वो इल्म के बीज बो गए हैं। बड़े हुए जब पौधे बढ़ के, हमारे कद ऊंचे हो गए हैं।
हम चांद की पेशानी जब छू के निकलते हैं, कायनात में है पाँव और मार्स पे चलते हैं।
उर्दू की उड़े खुशबू,
ये जामिया है ज़बान उर्दू, 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 ज़बान उर्दू का आशियाँ है, ये जामिया है ज़बान उर्दू।
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। अब मैं स्कूल ऑफ साइंसेस के डीन जनाब अब मैं हमारे डीन स्कूल ऑफ साइंसेस सलमान सर को दावत देना चाहती हूँ कि वो इस्तकबालिया खिताब पेश करें।
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. Welcome to all. Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, Chief Guest of this program, Ms. Farida Tampal, State Director, WWF India, Mr. Vamsi Krishna, State Deputy Director, WWF. Online joined with us our distinguished speaker, Dr. Maqsood Ahmad Malik, our colleague and dear students. A very good morning and a warm welcome to all. On the occasion of World Environment Day, I welcome you all. World Environment Day is celebrated every year worldwide on 5th June. Today we are here to celebrate the event. First of all, a special thanks to Honorable Vice Chancellor for allowing us to organize this event in Maulana Azad National Urdu University. I convey my special regards to the chief guest of this event, Ms. Farida Tampal, State Director, WWF. Welcome you, madam. I convey my regards to today's keynote speaker, Dr. Maqsood Ahmad Malik, Department of Chemistry, King Abdulaziz University, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation to deliver the lecture to enlighten the participant about the importance of this day. I am very much sure that the lecture will awaken us to deal with the ever-increasing problem of deteriorating environment. The schedule of this event will focus on the theme of this year, World Environment Day, Only One Earth, followed by plantation of sapling in the garden of a School of Science, Polytechnic building to mark the importance of this day. As we know, the World Environment Day is the biggest international day for the environment. It is our prime responsibilities to protect our environment, not only to save ourselves, but also for all living beings. I once again welcome you all to this event and become a part of this program to contribute a small bit towards for responsibilities to protect the mother nature. Thank you.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया सलमान सर। अब मैं गुजारिश करती हूँ प्रोफेसर शकील साहब से कि वो आज के इस प्रोग्राम के बारे में और इसकी अहमियत के बारे में हमें बताएं।
Dignitaries on the dais and off the dais and our keynote speaker joining online and also the participant. A very good morning. Assalamu alaikum. The World Environment Day, of course, first of all, it's my duty to explain, is on 5th June, designated by UN. But in fact, this throughout the year, we have to observe that all the day, in fact, Water Resources Day or Earth Day or so many things are there. But then one day, of course, we gather to assess that what has happened and what progress is made. So that's how, otherwise, every day is there. So that's why we are meeting on 13th, of course. today. I like to start from here. That what we have been created by the Almighty, and we have been put on this earth as a special planet. Why? Because we have certain environment, which is called nature also, where we can survive. Now, when we survive, of course, our life is there, whatever you know that. We do so many things. Of course, a lot of activities are involved in our life. Certain things we follow with the nature, certain things we like, either our liking or our need, we do ourselves. And that's called discovery or innovation. But then I like to say that discovery and innovation should be linked with the nature. And very simple thing I like to tell you that we suppose change something. Obviously, we are capable of doing that. So when we change something, we have to assess that whether when we are disturbing nature, of course, we have to disturb nature, how much we are gaining and how much we are losing. And based on this, our decisions should be there, because we have heard the word sustainability, that also is linked with this. So let me tell you some example, because then it will be much clear. Earlier in old days, when we were created or something in the beginning, there were no tar roads, right? And there were no cars, no airplane. We were using plug card. They were running very well with the mud road and all that. Then we started making RCC road and tar road and very pakka road and stuff, because we needed that to have a bigger speed and all that. That was our gain. But what we lost the percolation of water. Right now, we have to decide whether whatever we lost, because this is definitely there everywhere, where whatever you are gaining, you are losing also simultaneously. So now you have to decide whether you are losing more or you are gaining more. Obviously, both cannot be equal. So based on that, you change the nature. So this is there that whenever you change the nature, you have to bear the consequences. I told you have to decide. So that is how many things have been changed so far. I don't want to go to that history, several hundreds of years. But in 1972, we realized that our environment getting disturbed, or we are very much leading to pollution and other things. So in 1972, United Nations had decided to have a very big conference in Sweden, in Stockholm, and 119 countries have participated there. And then it was decided that, well, we should form an organization called UNEP, United Nations Environmental Protection Agency. And then decided that because this was on 5th June, 1972. So decided that every year we should celebrate this day as the World Environment Day. And we, of course, objective is to assess that what has happened in the whole year, what we should do. There's several protocols, several decisions have been taken. Since then, so that's why this year, 2022, is the Golden Jubilee year for that. Starting from 1972. And that's the reason the first theme was Only One Earth. And in 1973 was the first, of course. 1972 decision was taken, was 1973 was the first World Environment Day celebrated. So they decided that they host, actually here also let me tell you that every year there is a host country for this celebration. So the first was Sweden, and this 5th year also is Sweden. And they decided that, okay, let us repeat the same theme, Only One Earth. And of course, that is a symbol of cooperation, collaboration, that we should, if it is one Earth, there's no differences in all that. So like that, we have been celebrating World Environment Day every year, India. And that's why I just mentioned to you that every year there is a host country, there is a theme. India also celebrated was the host for 45th World Environment Day in the year 2018, and the theme was to remove the single-use plastic. And of course, MANUU also has been doing very well with that. Even this year also we have taken care that time. And then I think in Asia, even 2021, in spite of pandemic and all those things, the Pakistan was the host country. Before that, Colombia and China has, of course, 2 times celebrated that. So this has been done very well, and that's how we are sitting here today, because one is the host country, but then all over the world this is celebrated. And I think what I heard and that this is the biggest event in the world. It celebrates all over the world, in fact. So again, the theme is only one Earth, and the reason is simple, that we should cooperate. Unless we cooperate, that we can't maintain the environment, and unless we maintain the environment, you've seen that the things have extincted in the past. So we have to. The only thing is that we have to see that when we are gathered here, we listen so many talks, so many things that, but we must form a resolution, pass a resolution that certain things which we are supposed to do, but we can't do everything in 1 year. So maybe for the coming 1 year, until we gather again on the 5th June 2023, what all we should do, and we should check there also, because if we go on simply sitting and gathering every year like that and don't do anything, so that the purpose will not be solved. And I think what I understand on my own and from MANUU side also, because we are sitting in the university, the whole thing, what is lacking here is the education on the environment education. Because if everybody is educated, things will be much simpler, because unless you educate, you cannot ask anything to do anybody. That is one thing. And the second thing is involvement. Because we are sitting in a democratic country, we pass a rule, make a rule, it is never going to be implemented. So involve the people and educate them. So that should be, that is from my side, from MANUU side, in fact, the proposal. And we also will carry out many more programs, because we are celebrating Silver Jubilee of MANUU also this year, and as well as the 75 year of the independence. In fact, it's a very important year for all of us, and we have some more program, and we'll, inshallah, gather again on 5th June 2023 and check that what all has been done, where the people is. Thank you so much.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया शकील साहब। जैसा कि सर ने बताया कि आज का थीम है ओनली वन अर्थ, और माहौलियाती निज़ाम के तवाज़ुन में गड़बड़ी या तब्दीलियों का सबब एंथ्रोपोजेनिक रीजंस या इंसानी सरगर्मियां हैं। इकोलॉजिकल बैलेंस में वेरिएशन की सबसे बड़ी वजह ह्यूमन इंटरवेंशन है, जिसकी तरफ हमारी खुसूसी तवज्जो की ज़रूरत है, अदरवाइज इट विल बी टू लेट। तो जैसा कि सर ने बताया, इसमें एजुकेशन और इन्वॉल्वमेंट का अहम रोल है। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया सर। अब मैं दावत देना चाहती हूँ हमारे स्कूल ऑफ साइंसेस के डीन जनाब सलमान साहब को कि वो हमारे प्रोग्राम के कीनोट स्पीकर जनाब डॉक्टर मकसूद अहमद
As we know, this year, World Environment Day, the theme is Only One Earth. To celebrate this year, the School of Science MANUU has organized a lecture on topic Nurture Nature to Save the Planet Earth by the eminent scientist Dr. Maqsood Ahmad Malik. Welcome you, sir, again. It's my great to introduce Dr. Maqsood Ahmad Malik. Dr. Maqsood is currently working as an associate professor in the Department of Chemistry, King Abdulaziz University, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Dr. Maqsood completed his PhD in 2009 from Department of Chemistry, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. After completing his PhD, Dr. Maqsood joined as a postdoc research fellow in 2010 at Center of Ionic Liquid, Department of Chemical Engineering, University of Malaya, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. In 2011, he joined as an assistant professor at Department of Chemistry, King Abdulaziz University, Jeddah. Dr. Maqsood is one of key member of Surface Chemistry and Catalytic Studies, Department of Chemistry, King Abdulaziz University. Dr. Maqsood has published about 86 research articles with high impact journal, having more than 2,000 citations with H-index 23. He is a reviewing of more than 20 international journals. Dr. Maqsood is the editor of 2 books published recently in Springer, Singapore on theme Clean Energy Protection Technology. Dr. Maqsood is currently involved in many research projects and has international collaboration, particularly environmental remedies, renewable energy, and photocatalytic. With this brief introduction, I request Dr. Maqsood Ahmad to enlighten our audience with your valuable talk on topic Nurture Nature to Save the Planet Earth. Thank you. Over to Dr. Maqsood. Over to you.
Thank you very much for this kind introduction. Assalamu alaikum to every one of you. So it's my pleasure to be the part of this occasion. Yeah, let me share my content here. So my screen is visible to you, sir. So yeah, my screen is visible to you. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, the today's theme is about the World Environment Day, only one Earth. So every country is trying to protect their nature. So we also try our little bit to have some input in this World Environment Day 2022. The topic is Nurture Nature to Save the Planet Earth. So the outline of my talk is climate change is real, climate science and climate change, cause and intensifications, impact on people and the environment, climate change impacts on ecology, health, economy, and mitigation and adaptation. So, using Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change IPCC guidelines. First of all, what is climate? A statistical description of the mean and the variability of temperature, precipitation, wind, etc., over a period ranging from months to thousands and millions of years. Then what's weather? The mixed event is taking place in a short period of time, means days and weeks, that's weather, and the climate change. A change in the state of the mean and or the variability of these elements. Elements means wind, precipitation, temperature variations, all these things taking place in a longer period of time, and that has a long impact of on our environment. The longer period includes the decades, like hundreds years. So the IPCC report 2022 warned the world in set to reach the 1.5 degrees Celsius level with the next 2 decades, and said that only the most drastic cuts in carbon emission from now would help prevent an environmental disaster, because the temperature of the earth is rising day by day. So with this, the glaciers and other impacts on our planet takes place. So IPCC working group 1 reported a code red for humanity. The alarm are boomings, and the evidence is unquestionable, like greenhouse gas emissions from the fossil fuels, burnings, and deforestations are cooking our planet and putting billions of people at immediate risk. We are close to reaching irreversible tipping point, like we are at the danger side because of this rising temperature of our earth's surface. The global temperature rise since the late 19th century, the planet's average surface temperature has risen around 2 degree Fahrenheit, 1 degree Celsius, mostly due to the human activities. Human activities are mostly responsible for these causes. Then warming oceans. The top 100 meters of oceans have warmed more than 0.33 degrees Celsius since 1969. Oceans retain 90% of Earth's surplus energy. Then shrinking ice and glaciers. The glaciers are disappearing because of this greenhouse gases, climate changes. These glaciers, including in Alpes, Himalayas, Andes, Rockies, Alaska, and Africa. Once these glaciers are declining, the water level, the sea level is also increasing and putting millions of people in danger. Then there are some extreme events taking place due to these climate changes. These extreme events include precipitation, yani hailstorms, hurricanes, and coastal storms, drought, desert storms, wildfires, winter storms, and severe thunderstorms. What causes climate change? Carbon dioxide, methane, and water vapors are greenhouse gases that are found in atmosphere. Solar radiations pass through these clear atmosphere. Most radiations in is absorbed by the earth's surface and warm it. Some solar radiations is reflected by the earth and the atmosphere. Some of the infrared radiations passes through the atmosphere and some absorbed and re-emitted in all molecules. The effect of this is to warm the surface of the earth and lower the temperatures atmosphere. The higher the proportion of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, the more radiation is absorbed. This causes a rise in temperature of earth, and this is known as the greenhouse effect. This increase in temperature drives the climate change. So in this case, natural greenhouse effects are there and the human greenhouse effects are there, yani, which are caused by the humans and which are caused by the nature. But human enhanced greenhouse effects are more, they are more dangerous as compared to the natural ones. Human influence is very likely 90% the main driver of the global warming. The sharp increase in the emission of greenhouse gases and their concentration in the Earth's atmosphere since the onset of the industrialization. As the industrialization increases, the emission of greenhouse gases also increases, and at the end, the temperature of the Earth's surface increases. Greenhouse gases cause heat from the sun to be retained in the atmosphere, contributing to the global warming and climate change. Atmospheric concentration of CO2 is increased by 36% over the past 250 years. More than 60% of this increase has taken place in last 50 years. So at present, we are increasing day by day the emission of CO2. You can see here from 1850 till 2025, these are the different organizations who are working on this and the temperature change taking place. We can see from 1975, there's a sharp increase in the temperature. So the carbon dioxide mainly found from burning of fossil fuels and deforestation. It is 77% because our energy sector is totally dependent on fossil fuels this time. We don't have any other energy source. So methane mainly from lands used as agriculture changes, it's 14%. Nitrous oxide, it's also from agriculture. Ozone, vehicles, halocarbons, and other industrial process gases, it includes 9%. But main is the carbon dioxide and methane, that is 77% and 14%. Why is climate change a problem? There are different aspects of this, what we lose by the climate change. The coral bleaching, the corals, they become white. With a small increase in temperature, in 1.5 degrees Celsius, 70% coral loss. At the rise of 2 degree temperature, 99% loss. We think it is a very small change, 1.5 degree or 2 degree, it's not a big deal. But if you see the loss of the percentage loss, it is huge. Species loss, insects, plants, and vertebrates, just a small increase in temperature of 1.5 and 2 degrees Celsius, we lose 6%, insects 18%, plants we lose 8% at 1.5 degree and 16% at 2 degree. So it is getting double. Just from 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius, the loss of plants or insects or vertebrates, it is getting double in the numbers. Then drought. So with similar increase in the temperature in a 1.5 to 2, we lose 350 350 million people are affected. And by increase in 2 degrees Celsius, the temperature, the 410 million people are affected with this. Now, another impact, rise in sea level. When the glaciers melt, the sea level increases. With a simple increase in 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature, the sea level increases by 48 centimeters. 2 degree rise gives to 55 centimeters. So how many people are impacted by this? 46 million people are affected by 1.5 degree Celsius increase, and 49 million people are affected by just 2 degree rise in temperature. So climate changes impact us. They include floods, heat waves, droughts, hurricanes, wildfires, and loss of glacier ice. So climate change impacts. There are different types of impacts on this. Ecological impacts are there, health impacts are there, and economic impacts are there. So these are the potential impacts of the climate change. Health. These are the simple changes. Once the temperature is increased, the precipitation takes place, sea level rise takes place. So at the end, they have a huge impact on our health, species, and the natural areas. water resources, agriculture, coastal areas, and forests. So all of them are impacted by a simple rise in temperature of 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius. So here, this is the data of 10 years fertilities. So here, 392 billion hurricanes, 78 billion impacted by heat wave drought, 46 billion by tornadoes, severe storms, and 39 billion floods, severe storm. This is how the financial loss are taking place by these simple rise in temperature. And we have health impacts also. Health impacts: air pollution, we have water pollution, soil contamination. Once you have the air pollution, for example, you have sulfur dioxide is there, NOx are there, volatile organic fumes are there. So they ultimately damage your lungs, cardiovascular system, nervous system. So cancer risks are increasing, skin problems take place, and soil contamination. When the soil is contaminated, you are taking all the food is coming from vegetables, other things, they are coming from soil. So you are taking the contaminated food. And water pollution, what we are drinking, that is one of the main cause for bacterial infections and other impacts. Now we have impacts on health: increase in climate sensitive health outcomes. Direct effects and indirect effects. Direct effects include storms, droughts, flood, heat waves. So indirect effects, water quality decreases, air pollution takes place, land usage changes, ecological changes. Direct effects include injuries, disability, drowning, heat stress. Then indirect effects include water and foodborne diseases, malnutrition, vector-borne diseases, air pollution, particulate matter, ozone, and allergy, pollen seasons, and physiological stress. Now, vector-borne diseases, 74%. Water and foodborne diseases, 74%. And direct injuries, deaths, 68% because of storms, floods. So this is the 68% impact. Then you have heat related illnesses, sunstrokes and other things take place, and it's 68%. Then mental health, it means it also impacts your mental balance, mental health, it is 19%. Climate variability and extreme events. Variability in weather and climate inherently leads to the occurrence of extreme weather or climate events. The extreme events more usually and more severe than normal or average weather include, for example, you have heat waves, high temperature events, cold waves, low temperature events, snowstorms, downpours, heavy precipitation, hailstorms, and droughts, low precipitation events. Societies and natural ecosystems are increasingly at the risk of such extreme weather events. For instance, heat waves increase morbidity and mortality, reduces labor efficiency, and crop yields and intensify droughts and forest fires. Downpours lead to the floods that results in human casualties, damage to infrastructure, crop failures, landslides, and insurance costs. Frequency and intensity of extreme weather events are observed and are projected to increase even with small temperature increase. Heavy precipitation events projected to have a potential negative impact on trade through disruption to the infrastructure as well as results of many not be limited to direct damage to agriculture outputs. Climate variability and extreme events intensify the general impact on climate change in specific locations at specific points in time. Projected impact of sea level rise. As we see in our previous slide, that a simple increase of sea level with uh, 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius, it's about 50 to 60 centimeter. Sea level rise projections vary significantly depending on the climate models and assumptions. Change in sea ice may lead to availability of new shipping routes with significant implications for transport and exploitation of resources, including fossil fuels. Change in permafrost. It means a permanent frozen layer on or under Earth's surface and increasing ground instability and implications for transport, industry, and infrastructure. In 2005, 3.9 million people in sea regions exposed to flooding caused by storm surges and sea level rise. Up to 2070s, estimated 28 million people to be affected in sea regions, coastal regions, by projected 50 centimeter level rise. We think 50 centimeters is a small rise, but you see 28 million people will be impacted by 2070. Asset exposure projections 2100 to 4,600% increase between 2005 to 2070 with no adaptation measures. Flood projections Ho Chi Minh City 60 to 70% built up areas exposed to 100 centimeter rise. Bangkok 43 to 69% flooding in 2025 to 2100. Estimated deaths due to climate changes. More than 5 million extra deaths a year can be attributed to abnormal hot and cold weathers, according to a world first international study by Monash University. The study found that deaths related to the hot temperature increased in all regions from 2000 to 2019, indicating that global warming due to climate change will make this mortality figure worse in future. You see the annual deaths due to high temperatures by regions. In Africa, 25 more than 25,000. Asia, it's more than 2 lakh. Europe, more than 1.5 lakh. South America, 25,000. UK, 8,000. US, 18,000 plus. China, 71,000 plus. India, 83,000. And Australia, 2,300. These are the estimated deaths by the simple climate changes, simple rise in temperature, and other impacts. So here we have some examples according to the climate changes according to the regional areas. Like in Africa, significant water shortage take place, lower agriculture yields are there, hunger, malnutrition, increase in arid and semi-arid lands, sea level rise affecting low-lying coastal areas and populations. In Asia, decrease in freshwater availability, flooding in heavily populated mega deltas. Then you have endemic illnesses and mortality from increase in diarrheal diseases. You see, when the floods take place, after that there are a lot of diseases, bacterial and fungal diseases take place. So one of them is diarrheal disease. Additional pressure on environmental and natural resources, significant loss of biodiversity, water security problems, decreased agriculture and forest production, ongoing coastal development, not climate proofed. Europe, inlands, flash floods, coastal flooding and erosions, glacial retreats, reduced snow covers with negative impacts on winter tourism, extensive species loss, severe impacts for southern Europe, droughts, etc. Then Latin America, decrease in crop and livestock productivity. North America, decrease in snowpack in western mountains. So there are a lot of indirect and direct impacts of climate change. Now, addressing climate change impacts and One Health. We should have one health policy all over the world. Impact of global warming to infectious disease transmissions, impact of weather climate extremes to human health, impact of biodiversity loss to living environment of animals and humans, exposure of a deteriorated environment to health burdens and others. A united, holistic, and one health approach to respond to the climate change crisis. So they incorporate one health into wider public health approaches, facilitate digital risk interconnectivity on climate changes and One Health, promote one science and international cooperation, enhance multi stakeholders partnerships. Approaches for dealing with climate changes, it is a mitigation and adaptation. Mitigation refers to reducing the greenhouse gas emissions, methane, carbon dioxide, and other gases that are contributing to the climate changes. In other words, mitigation helps to address the cause of the problem. Then adaptation refers to making changes to the human and the natural systems to respond to the future impacts of climate change. In other words, adaptation attempts to address the effects of the problem. So, a response to the climate change, it means avoiding the unmanageable and managing the unavoidable. So, in case of mitigation, actions to reduce climate changes, how can we do this? How can we perform this? By using sustainable transportation, energy efficiency, clean energy. We should have new energy systems. Water conservation should be there to educate the people. Natural environment, we have to increase this natural environment. Disaster management and business connectivities, infrastructure upgrades. The infrastructure should be like very nice so that we can protect these climate changes, and flood protections. These are some main mitigation process and adaptation process that we can include in our society to avoid these deadly events. Avoiding the unmanageable, IPCC Climate Change Panel gave importance to following spatial aspects. Use of fossil fuels. As everyone knows, we are totally dependent on fossil fuel energy. This kind of fuel that should be abandoned as soon as possible. It's a matter of emergency. Change in our diet habits, in addition to its construction and maintenance, deforestation. The cattle sector is one of the most polluting. Green cities, the traditional urban organization must change as soon as possible towards sustainable and more environmental friendly urban plannings. Over millions of years, species become adapted to survive in the conditions in which they live. A stable climate supports this process and allows living things to flourish. If the climate changes quickly, organisms did not have enough time to adapt in these conditions, so they will not survive in these new conditions. It may take longer time for them to get adopted these climate changes. Then mitigation options and potentials. The significant emission reduction requires exploiting mitigation potentials across all sectors involving a broad range of technologies. Key options for mitigation include using energy more efficiently to reduce the emission from fossil fuel use, switching to zero or low carbon energy technologies. So we have to reduce the CO2 emissions, reducing deforestation. Deforestation is taking place at very high speed, introducing improved farming practices and waste treatments. So farming is one of the main causes of methane productions, is releasing a lot of. So our farming should be such in such a way that we should try to avoid these gas releases. Developing of existing technologies and technologies currently under develop would enable realization even of ambitious emission targets. Now, mitigation and cost implication of these stabilization targets. So we had to put a simple target like 2 degree Celsius target. Then we have 3 degree Celsius target. Carbon pricing. It means we need to reduce, try to reduce the emission of the gases. We need to make more taxes on those countries more who are releasing more CO2, who are high in CO2 emissions and other greenhouse gases that highly impacts our earth. So here I will not go to the detail because of the time limitations. We have different adaptation strategies: resilient agriculture systems, land use plannings, wetland restoration. So high-tech, drought-tolerant species helps resistance to climate change and diseases. Low-tech, better practices generate healthier soils and may help carbon dioxide appropriation, water storage, sensitive irrigation, mulching, cover crops, crop rotations, reduce polluting agroforestry, indoor intensive farming could increase, land and use planning, soft management, land use, zoning, building restrictions in vulnerable floodplains and only low-lying coastals, enforcing strict runoffs controls and soakways. Wetland restorations. Wetlands, salt and freshwater marshes, floodplains, peatlands, Mangroves cover up to 9% of Earth's land's surfaces but contains 35% of the terrestrial carbon stored. Trans-government initiatives such as International Conservation on Wetlands, Ramsar, and the European Union Habitats Directive promotes restoration projects around the world. In the Canadian prairies, over 1 lakh plus hectares are planned for restoration to their former wetlands. So we have to protect our wetlands. Afforestation, then changing agriculture practices. The United Nations reducing emission from deforestation and forest degradation scheme offers incentives to the developing countries to protect their forests. Conservation and sustainable management are also crucial. The European Union forest strategy also focuses on sustainable forest management. This has involved using satellite technologies. So with the help of satellite technologies, they can check, they can map the forest areas, and finally they can be restored. In April 2016, European Union and Indonesia signed a forest law enforcement, governance, and trade licensing scheme designed to reduce the illegal logging of the forests and promotes trade in legally produced timber. There are several measures to reduce carbon emission from agriculture which targets both carbon dioxide and methane. Zero tillage, not ploughing, stop ploughing. You can directly dig the seeds in the soil. Polyculture, growing annual crops in between trees. There are gaps between the trees. We can have some other crops to fill these gaps that will protect the erosion of the soil. Crop residues. So leaving these residues such as stems and leaves on the fields after harvesting helps protect soil from erosions. What we do, we collect all these residues and burn them, which cause the pollution. Like in many cities in India, they burn the crop residues. Finally, we have smoke and pollution. New strains of plants, for example, rice. Such quality of rice can be planted. Paddy fields which need less water. Then managing manures using the anaerobic digesters to produce methane, which can be used to generate the powers. So another one is international agreements. So we have caps and trades. I will not go in detail with this. So what are the advanced technologies? Mitigations using advanced technologies. As my field of research, it is environmental application of nanotechnology. We are working on wastewater treatments, carbon dioxide capture, and for this energy, we are making materials which can be used in solar cells. So this is the part what I am going to have a little bit information about this here to share with you. So application of green nanotechnology in water and wastewater treatments, biotechnology in agriculture, medicines and health, textile industries, food preservations, energy and environment. So carbon dioxide emission, one of the mitigations.
Sir, I just want to intervene. सर, आपका लेक्चर बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छा है और सुनने में बहुत मज़ा आ रहा है और बहुत देर तक हम सुन सकते हैं, लेकिन थोड़ा हमें टाइम का कंस्ट्रेंट्स हैं सर, तो प्लीज सर
I have just two slides, maybe two
Yes, sir,
slides
please.
remaining. Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
yeah. So here, carbon dioxide capture. We are using advanced nanomaterials to capture this carbon dioxide released from fossil fuels, and this carbon dioxide is converted to useful chemicals and fuels, which are used as the energy source. The hydrogen as a replacement of fossil fuels. Hydrogen can be used to generate power and heat vehicles such as cars, trucks. So, replacing fossil fuels by hydrogen energy is one of the best to stop this climate change. This is the work what we are doing this time to produce hydrogen from methanol and water splitting. So shortage of time, so I'm sorry. So I highly appreciate your patience for listening to this talk. Thank you very much, all of you. Assalamu alaikum. Over to you, please.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया जनाब डॉक्टर मकसूद अहमद साहब, आपके इस नॉलेजेबल और बेदार कर देने वाले लेक्चर के लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। आपने बहुत सारे अहम मौज़ूआत पर रोशनी डाली है, जैसे कि हमारे अर्थ पर जो दर्जा हरारत है वो दिन ब दिन बढ़ रहा है। बेशक ये एक अहम मुद्दा है जिस पे हमें गौर फिक्र करना चाहिए, और जैसे कि आपने बताया कि इंटर गवर्नमेंटल पैनल ऑफ क्लाइमेट चेंज के हिसाब से अगले 2 डिकेड्स में हमारी अर्थ के टेम्परेचर में 1.5 डिग्री सेल्सियस तक का इजाफा होने का अंदेशा है, जिसके असरात बहुत ख़तरनाक हो सकते हैं, जैसे कि बढ़ते हुए सी लेवल की वजह से बहुत सारे खूबसूरत जजीरे पूरी तरीके से पानी में डूब सकते हैं। हमारे माहौलियाती निज़ाम पर बढ़ते हुए दबाव की वजह से लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स और जैसे कि पेड़ पौधे, जानवर हैं, उन सब की फिजियोलॉजिकल फंक्शन या फेलियात पर भी बहुत गहरा और बुरा असर पड़ सकता है। जैसे आपने बताया कि एक बहुत ये हैरतअंगेज़ बात है कि 90% ग्लोबल वार्मिंग का जो असर है वो ह्यूमन इंड्यूस्ड ग्रीन हाउस गैसेस की वजह से है। और बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया सर, आपने बहुत अच्छा लेक्चर दिया। अब मैं दावत देना चाहती हूँ प्रोफेसर शकील साहब को कि वो हमारे मेहमानी खुसूसी मोहतरमा फरीदा तंपल साहिबा का तारुफ कराएं। सर प्लीज।
Good morning again. Actually, we are very fortunate and lucky that Ms. Farida Tampal is with us as a chief guest today. She is basically having degree in ecology, master degree in ecology, and started her career from Madras Crocodile Bank Trust as a research associate, and then joined WWF Kolkata office and have worked a lot in Sundarban area. Sundarban area is very sensitive for the environment, as you know. So she has a lot of work carried out there, and then switched over to, came back to Hyderabad as the state director in WWF office of state of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana both together. And she has a lot of experience in working in environmental activities. I'm not going to list all that because normally I believe that the best introduction of any speaker is from his speech, her speech actually. And she has got involved in many activities like BIOS SP in Malta, also here in state, and in the national activities on all the committees. During her stint in West Bengal, and also presently she has been involved in achieving sustainable livelihood for women communities. So we were lucky to have women also here with us in the forest areas. She has written and spoken about the women environment, where she has linked environmental degradation with women's rights issues. Very interesting. One of her pioneering initiatives has been the introduction of renewable energy to improve water management in the forest areas, benefiting the wildlife as well as the local communities. So these are very, very few interesting women. You can understand she is a state director from last 18 years. So how much experience, how much work she has done will of course listen from her presentation. So I would like to take this opportunity to invite you, ma'am, for your lecture as a chief guest.
Do I share the presentation? How does it work?
As a chief guest.
Do I share the presentation? How does it work?
As a chief guest.
I'm hearing myself. Can I start? There is some disturbance, sir. I can hear myself. उन्होंने बंद नहीं किया शायद. There is some disturbance, sir. I can hear myself. आप कुछ mute कर लीजिए. उन्होंने बंद नहीं किया शायद. Very good morning to all of you. I cannot speak if I don't hear something back. Good morning. Very good morning to all of you. Do you know what is LLB? Anybody who knows what is LLB in the audience? No one? Strange. Okay, one hand up. Yes, sir. It's a law degree. Bachelor of Law. Anybody else wants to attempt? No? I will tell you what it is. You want to hear it? When I was studying, just like you all, I also sat in this big auditorium like this in my college in Bombay. LLB, we used to call it Lord of the Last Benches. So, if you don't want to get an LLB degree, some of you could consider moving a bit up and occupying the seats which are empty so that I am able to connect with you better. In fact, I'm very envious of Dr. Ira Khan. She's speaking such wonderful Urdu, and I'm getting jealous that why can't I speak that language? And after I finish learning my language, I will learn this also. I didn't see any movement in the audience. Some more people can come in the front. A little bit movement. Shake your legs, shake your hands. Or was it too intense and you are getting over the shock of what Professor Maqsood said? Climate change. Let's change the climate in this room a bit. Come closer. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me here. Professor Syed Ainul Hassan, Honorable Vice Chancellor of the University. Professor Shakil Ahmed, an old friend of WWF India, I must say. We worked a lot together when my colleague Vamshi and their division works with them. Professor Salman Ahmed Khan, Professor Ira Khan, Professor SM Rahmatullah, and of course, Professor Maqsood Ahmed Malik, who's joined us all the way from King Abdul Aziz University in Jeddah, and my dear colleague Vamshi Krishna, who is Associate Director of our Sustainable Agriculture Division. And maybe sometime later when he comes and speaks to you, why does WWF work on sustainable agriculture? You would know a lot of it links to what Professor Maqsood Malik has already told us on why WWF would get into something called sustainable agriculture. So maybe that will be another session sometime later. What I wanted to do is
talk to you a little bit about urban biodiversity, because we are all living in an urban setup, and how urban biodiversity is relevant to us, how is it important to us, and this beautiful campus that you are all very privileged to have, very lucky to have a large campus. Otherwise, nowadays, if you look at schools or even colleges, they are one single straight building and nothing around it. So I would think that you are very privileged to come to such a wonderful campus and study every day. I was telling Vamshi, I wish I could come back to a university and work rather than, sitting in one building in my own office, which is just one single building. Before I take you to what is urban biodiversity, I just wanted to quickly tell you that the gems which are available in our own state of AP and Telangana. I represent both the states of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. So I thought maybe very quickly, I'll take you to a few gems. I won't tell you what wildlife is. Whatever is not cultivated is basically wildlife. Whatever is not domesticated, basically wildlife. It can be plants and animals. Very often when we say wildlife, people think it is just the animals. When I used to work, when I was a nature club student of WWF, which is since 1984, I'm associated with this organization. We went to a nature camp in Pune. There is a NDA campus, National Defense Academy campus, and we were doing some bird watching. Some army cadets are passing by, and one cadet asked the other cadet, I overheard this conversation. ये लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? अरे ये चिड़िया देखने वाले लोग हैं. So, चिड़िया देखने वाले लोग is basically wildlife, but no, plant diversity, which is non-cultivated or is wild, is called also part of wildlife as much as animals are. And India is one country, I would say, right from snow-capped mountains to the mangroves, we have all of it in our country, and that we should be very, very proud of. I don't think there are very many countries which are endowed with this kind of ecosystems in our country. Himalayas, I won't go into depth. Western Ghats, I think all of us know. Northeastern India, some of the most unique diversities are found over there of plants and animals. Central Highlands, and this also is where we are included, basically our Deccan Plateau, which is very, very rich in terms of plants and animals. In fact, just to give you an example, your campus is part of Deccan Plateau. The NITHM, which is just next door to you, the National Institute of Hospitality and Tourism Management, they are also part of the Deccan Plateau. And when I was I had visited that campus very often. We were trying to work together in Neetam, as they call it. That gentleman, he wanted to grow a forest there. He said that, no, it's all scrub jungles. It's just scrub, छोटे-छोटे पेड़ है, पौधे हैं, जिसमें सब thorns लगे हैं. So I want a forest. So you're destroying a unique ecosystem which is very specific to this area. You don't have to have tall trees always. Afforestation need not be tall trees always. This is a concept which is totally wrong. If we think that Haritaharam can grow your big forest, maybe one should also look at which ecosystem should you do Haritaharam, what kind of the plants you should plant. So there are a lot of these things that we need to know, but we are in the Central Highlands. Vamshi, can you pass me water, please? Of course, all the beautiful animals, we should say we are lucky to have all around us. And then we have the deserts, as well as having a long coastline on the east and west coast of India. And Andhra Pradesh, which we are still part of, I would say, has the second largest coastline in the country. We have many threats to this wildlife, which already I think Professor Malik has already illustrated. Habitat alteration, which we call it HIPPO, invasive species, and this is another area which I will not get into. Pollution, population explosion, overexploitation, and of course, the threat which he all talked about, greater threat, climate change. If you come to wildlife in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, some of the unique species, which many of us, in fact, I'm not from the state, I'm from Maharashtra. So I take this liberty to tell all the Telugus that you are not very proud of what you have in your state. You like to talk about Rajaji, you like about Jim Corbett National Park, you will talk about Dachigam, you will talk about Sundarbans, but we have equally beautiful wildlife or equally beautiful and gifted locations in our own state. Some of the rare and endangered which is found in our own state, I think most of you would know these animals. एलिफेंट है क्या आंध्र प्रदेश में, किधर, या तेलंगाना में? Not Adilabad. Anybody who thinks that we have elephants in our state? United States, if I'm saying. AP, yes. Not Sri Salem, towards Chittoor, sir, Kaundinya Wildlife Sanctuary and Kuppam area. So we do have elephants there. So that makes it an equally rich state. Something which in our own lifetime we are going to see extinction. And I would like to dwell on the slides a bit because I know none of you would have thought about these animals going to extinction. If you see this bird over here, Great Indian Bustard. In Telugu, it is called Battameka Pitta or Pakshi, found in a small location called Nandi Kotkur. Have you heard of it? Kurnool का नाम तो सुना होगा. नंदियाल, जोर से बोलो भाई. अभी गाना गाने बोलेंगे तो जोर से चिल्लाओगे आप लोग, है ना? तो थोड़ा जोर से आवाज दिया करो. Okay, so this bird is found only in that belt and little bit of western Maharashtra, some parts of Rajasthan, some parts of Karnataka. Can you believe what the population of this bird is in our country right now? Take a guess. एक से तो नंबर सबको गिनने आता है. चालू करो गिनना. Few hundred. Thank you, sir. You are very, very benevolent. Anybody else? Sir is somewhere near. Okay. Then, sir, you should be on my side, not on their side. Okay. Anybody wants to take a rough estimate? कुछ तो बोलो भाई. 30. थोड़ा बढ़ाओ. 80. I think next time I should give you an award from WWF. Yes, somewhere around 80 to 100 is what the estimate is. So what happens? We might just lose this bird in our own lifetime. I'm told like almost go towards the end of my life, but you guys are young. You want to go tomorrow to Kurnool and say, कहाँ है bird? बताया था वो मैडम ने. Bird नहीं दिख रहा अभी. एक या दो दिखता है तो it's considered आपका दिन बहुत ही lucky है. So that is the status. Next to it, you have the slender loris, a beautiful animal. Just look at the eyes. How can it not appeal to you? This another animal which is found towards our Tirupati hills in Chittoor district. Slender loris. Very unique looking animal. Just look at it. It's one of the old animal which is found in that particular area. Then right next to it, vulture. I think everybody knows, and I think everybody knows what the issue is with vultures. Yes or no? Yes? I'm sure they were to be seen in our campuses over here, but because of one drug which we use for veterinary purpose called diclofenac sodium, it's a painkiller. We use it as human beings also, your low back, your aceclofenac, all of these are that category of drugs. Because of that drug, today vulture population in the country had come down drastically, but luckily because of the government of India took the right steps at the right time, we were able to arrest the decline, and apparently the population is moving towards the positive side. So fingers crossed, we are able to at least do something about this bird. And then the last bird, which is on top, this cute little bird, it is the only image available, by the way, which is a camera trap image. This bird is called the Jordan's courser. It is the logo of the Kadapa police, if any of you hail from there. This bird, it was re-recorded after nearly thought to be extinct. It was re-recorded in 1984 by a bird watcher, a bird trekker over there. And from then till now, there were some bird surveys done, but even now we are not able to find the bird anymore. So people are thinking maybe it is extinct again. We don't know. So this is a situation. So when we talk about birds in the protected areas or animals in the other animals in the protected areas, they are all protected. We have national parks, we have sanctuaries, we have different kinds of protection status to our forests. I think all of you must be knowing we have 3 national parks on the city limits of Hyderabad. Name them. Sir, not you. I will now start picking up your people from the crowd if you don't put up your hands and answer. I cannot do one-side dialogue, please. One-side monologue rather. So please tell me. LLB को पूछूं? कुछ LLB यहाँ से दिख रहे हैं मुझे डिग्री के साथ. बताइए. Sorry? One is near Panjagutta. थोड़ा आगे बढ़ जाइए. अरे, एटलीस्ट जुबिली हिल्स बोलते हैं आप. KBR National Park. Don't say park. It's not just a park. Highest level of protection under the Wildlife Protection Act is given to this park, National Park. KBR National Park, Kasu Brahmananda Reddy National Park. There's a beautiful fort inside, Chiran Fort. Okay, and there is a masjid also which is still being used, and people go in there to offer their Friday prayers. Then what is the next one? Sorry? Nehru Zoological Park is a zoo. It comes under the Central Zoo Authority, not under the Protected Areas Act. Guess karo. I know you guys all know it, but you never even gave a second thought to it. One is in Dilshuk Nagar. How many of you went to Ramoji Film City? अभी तो कुछ हाथ ऊपर आए at least. हाँ, बताइए. उसके बाजू में ही है. नहीं? Mahavir, Harina, Vanasthalipuram National Park. I'm sure some of you have gone there, but you just don't realize that it is a national park. And the third one, if you keep going on your road and take a diversion towards Chevella, there is another park which is commonly called as Chirkul National Park, but it is actually called Mrigavani National Park because there's a lot of deers in that national park. So these are a gift to us, to Hyderabadis, I would say, because these are present in our own vicinity, about say 10, 15, maximum 40 kilometers to go to the Dilshuk Nagar one. So in an urban setup, forests are very, very important. Having urban biodiversity is also important. As you can see on your slide, that a lot of the populace, especially in India, everybody loves to move to Mumbai. When I was, after my master's, I started working as a research associate in the Madras Crocodile Bank Trust, which is in Mahabalipuram, near Chennai, 40 kilometers from Chennai. When I used to work there, the villagers around that area, they used to think I'm extremely rich. I said, why do you consider that? Because you're from Bombay, and Bombay is the richest city in the country, so you are also rich. And we also want to go there. Their aspiration, the rural population, is always to move towards the urban area, and just for multiple reasons. Agricultural areas, today, you know, a marginal farmer is finding it very difficult to survive. They come during some of the seasons to cities like Hyderabad or Mumbai or any urban city. They want to come work for some time. They work as coolies. They work as at various levels. They go back during the monsoon to cultivate, to sow their fields. They come back again. So everybody wants to be in the urban area, and so urban areas are getting more and more congested, and cities are growing. Today, I'm sure many of you are from Hyderabad itself, or your parents are from Hyderabad, and they must be often saying, "Arey, maine to yahan par sirf chattane dekhi thi. I would have seen only rocks over here." If you look at the entire IT area today, I think the beautiful rocks, the Deccan rocks, are completely gone. So that is our reason, is because we need more and more space to grow, more and more space to do our businesses, our industrial activities. But who does not like this? So we consciously or subconsciously also create these spaces, because we do not want to be all the time seeing buildings around us. So we create spaces which are similar to wildlife spaces, could be a pond, and everybody knows Hyderabad is actually the city of lakes. Most of you know. Any guess how many lakes were there once upon a time in Hyderabad? Very small number you're saying, sir? Now you are saying is correct figure, more or less correct. 3,000, more than that, close to about 5,000 big and small lake. And many of you who are youngsters, you must have heard the most important place everybody passes through to come to your university, Masab Tank. Why is it called Masab Tank? When I first came and my office was in Masab Tank, my first question is, why is it called Masab Tank? I don't see any tank here. But apparently there was a tank which was called Ma Sahiba Tank. Yes. So we have lost these lakes, but we create these lakes again because we want some kind of biodiversity around us. So we create parks, we create gardens, ponds, small tanks. Then again, spaces are used by plants and animals. If you go to buildings across our city, you will suddenly see tree ke beech mein, building ke beech mein ek jhaad ug raha hai. Have you seen? Ficus tree on some of their buildings, and many people say no, it should be removed because it will spoil the tree. How does it come there? Tell me, anybody, how does it come there? Birds? Only the faculty is talking. What about the students? मैं इतनी भी boring हूँ क्या? बताइए, चलिए. That's why I always like to have a handle mic so I can walk up till there and catch the student by the collar. Should I do that? No? Then please answer. It's a threat to you. How does that plant start growing in that building? Did the plant climb up there? Yes or no? No. Then what happened? Exactly. Very good. The birds, they sit over there, they throw their droppings over there, and from there, whatever the bird has eaten, the plant starts growing. It's an adaptation by the plant. Got an place, thoda sa pipe mein leakage tha, space tha, germination started, which is harmful for the building. You have to actually remove it because it's not meant to be in the... So plants and animals will find their space. Like you can see here, a benevolent Godzilla. There's a bird which has nested over there. Under our bridges, if you pass by some of our new bridges, or even if you go towards your own Gandipet, that bridge and all, look down sometimes. Don't look at the water. Don't eat that ice cream always. Look down at the bridges sometimes. You will see exactly these birds which you can see here. These are nests of birds, like the swallows, like the swifts. These are small, small birds which keep flying continuously. They never sit. Everything is in the air. Swifts and swallows, they do everything in the air. So these are the kind of... And then this light, I think this you have seen very often, high floodlights and all, you will see some small nests. In fact, they say that some of the kites, I don't know uska Hindi word kya hai, but kites, you know, the birds, the chil, these species, if you see in Hyderabad, look up the next time now, after you listen to this lecture, you should be able to look around and see. Some of them, they occupy these floodlights because they need tall trees to nest. And if the location doesn't have tall trees, they will just lay their nest over there. So animals can adopt very easily. Something which I like to talk about is humans are attracted to nature and its living creature. We are all attracted to nature, right? If we want to de-stress, we go to nature. We go to the Hussain Sagar. Even if it is stinking like anything, we will still go and sit on that bench. Isn't it? Because we want to spend some time with the family outside that four walls of our house. So a very, very, very eminent ecological scientist, Professor E.O. Wilson, recently passed away, just I think early this year or last November or December. He called this phenomenon biophilia. Philia is to be attracted towards, and bio is your bios around you, and defined it as our innate tendency to affiliate with life and life-like processes. And being surrounded by plants and animals, it creates a sense of peace and tranquility. You feel very nice if you see greens. I'm sure when you come every day to your campus, you feel happy because you have trees and you will hear the birds, you will see the butterflies. So there are so many, it just gives you a sense of happiness that you are in the campus. And I'm sure the lockdown must have been really difficult for many of you. सारा वक्त घर में बैठो, स्क्रीन देखो. And we used to have Zoom calls every day, every hour Zoom call. And at the end of 2020, I had this huge ear pain because I was putting my earphones into my ears, and then I started getting ear pains. And I said to throw it away, and I threw the earphones away, and I try to only listen to whatever I can hear. If I don't hear, doesn't matter. I don't want to spoil my ear. I rather listen to the bird call rather than listen to this. So, how much biodiversity? In Indian cities, we are very lucky to be still surrounded by biodiversity, by habitat corridors. Like I was saying, you have Chilkur on one side, you have KBR on one side, you have Brigavani, Mahavira on one side. So you still are surrounded. City like Delhi, it's highly congested, huge city again, but it has almost 400 bird species. Almost 1/3 of all the bird species recorded in our subcontinent. 400 bird species. Even Hyderabad is not bad. Let me tell you, we have close to around 300 to 400 bird species in Hyderabad. Would you imagine that? You never stop to see. That famous William Wordsworth, I don't know if you have learned him. What is this life if full of care? We have no time to stand and stare. So we always are running. Bus mein chadna hai, university aana hai, exam likhni hai, right? So I will request the concerned authorities, give them 1 hour of free time to be in the nature, and maybe we'll be happy to make you part of how to observe nature. We'll come and do trails for you on the campus, tell you what you should look for. So that will be a good relaxation for you. And there are lot of studies which says that if you start focusing and observing nature, your concentration and focus on your subject also increases. These are proven exercises in a university, in a college, in a school in US, where they introduced environment and nature education. The students who never used to study, who never wanted to pay attention in class, just introduction of one nature studies class made a huge amount of difference. The students immediately started focusing not only on nature, but they started focusing on studying also well, because they got curious. They wanted to know more. So that is what nature does to you. I think role of biodiversity, I don't need to tell you, most of you would know. Waste management. Just imagine, waste management, how can biodiversity be helpful in waste management? Scavengers. Which animal did I say some time back is an excellent scavenger? Which animal is that? Vulture. Very good. Thank you for responding. It's written over there also, no? Thank you for reading it at least. Crows. So all these animals, just imagine if they were not there to pick up all the garbage that we throw. मेरा घर साफ है, कचरा बाहर है, बढ़िया है. Isn't it? That's the attitude we have, especially all of us Indians. घर साफ रखना है, कचरा बाहर रहना है, फिर वो रास्ते पे कुछ भी हो, then we complain कि कुत्ते ज्यादा है, कुत्ते ने इसको काट लिया, कुत्ते ने उसको काट लिया. किसने प्रॉब्लम पैदा किया वो? Because it's the garbage you have thrown outside the house, not you, we, all of us. We are throwing the garbage outside. It's outside my home. Just forget it. It's like the petrol tank. Fill it, shut it, forget it. Something like that. So we do that. But you have biodiversity here to your rescue at least. You should be thankful that nature has created systems where some bit of waste at least is being managed. So please think about waste management when you go home. What do you do with your waste? Is it on the roads or is it in your house dustbin? And how do I process it? How do I be more careful and more aware about it the next time you're back at home? Pest management. Again, rats, चूहे तो सबके घर में आते हैं, mosquitoes तो सबके घर में रहते हैं, but वो छिपकली नहीं रहनी चाहिए. Lizard, मेरे ऑफिस में एक लड़की है, उसको एक lizard मेरे बाथरूम में दिख गई, ऑफिस के वॉशरूम में. तब से she'll go like this. क्या कर रहे हो रूपाली? I asked her. Madam, last time there was a lizard over here, so I am very careful. I said, Rupali, that lizard is eating up all the mosquitoes in my room. Let it be there. It's providing you a service free of cost. You don't have to pay for that pest management service. Varna pest management is almost close to 10,000-13,000 rupees. And of course, clean air, cool air, which is given to you by your trees, your plants. Please excuse me. And your water bodies. If you don't have at least whatever you have right now in Hyderabad, it will be much hotter. Water bodies help you regulate your temperatures, city temperatures. You stand here, calculate your temperature at this place, go to Panjagutta with that same thermometer and go and check the temperature over there. You have greenery here, you have trees here, your temperature is definitely slightly lower than in Panjagutta, where you have something which is called a heat island effect. Because of the built up area, entire area becomes very hot, very warm, and the temperatures there are much higher. In fact, the Pollution Control Board records temperature in 3-4 locations in the city. And you can make out that in Panjagutta, the temperatures are really, really high. As well as stabilizing groundwater. Professor Shakil Ahmed will give you a lot of details on this. He's an expert on groundwater, nationally renowned. Pollination and dispersal. Pollination, do you know that in India right now, we have a reduction in number of bee colonies, honeybee colonies. It's a very big matter of concern. Today we have honeybee conservation programs started. We started with a big animal conservation. What is a big animal? Tiger, elephant. Now we are talking about this animal conservation, because we've come up to that level that we have to actually start even conserving our honeybee population. Why? Not because honeybee is very cute, honey is very sweet, but because if you don't have the honeybee, it will impact your food security. It will become more and more expensive for your food. Now itself, tomato yesterday 60 rupees in the Medipatnam Raito Bazaar. Board पे 50 लिखा है, वो 60 ले रहा है. झगड़ा करके घर आ गए 1 किलो टमाटो खरीद के. So you have something which is called urban edge effect. Yani, there are spaces for biodiversity to live even if there is little bit of greenery available. If you can see this, something which is here called rediscovering species. Can you read it? Euphorbia sebastiani. I'll give you just one example. It is a weed species. Botany department teachers and all will know. It's a weed we rediscovered when we were studying the biodiversity of Hussain Sagar River. And this rediscovery was almost after nearly 40 to 50 years of it first being described from the banks of the river Musi. We found it near Hussain Sagar. I went last week. That area where we rediscovered this weed, it's gone. There is a thrill city over there, which is more thrilling than to discover a new species. So the thrill city is there. Go and enjoy the thrill city. Another interesting example I'll give you. There's a person whom I know. He's studying birds in urban area, birds in rural area. Birds in an urban area, the same bed. Let's say, for example, all of you know Myna. Myna, all of you know. So a Myna in the urban area has to shout louder to communicate to another Myna, whereas the same Myna in a rural area has the same pitch, because the outside ambient noise of vehicles, of different things is so much higher that there is a change in behavior of a bird species within two locations, urban and rural. Amazing, isn't it? Acoustic study. Anybody who's interested in sound and acoustics, please, you should take a look at these kind of things. It is a new thought for you, which I would like to leave you with. So looking for living spaces, we are all looking for, we all need our houses, we need homes. So rather than just focusing on green spaces, this is my problem with the smart city concept. All of you must have heard of this grandiose smart city concept. What does it mean? LED light यहाँ लगा दिया, solar panels वहाँ लगा दिए, urban infrastructure को थोड़ा green कर दिया. That is smart city. But nobody is talking about ecology of that city. Only then, when you look after your green spaces, can you call it a smart city. So this is something, that concept in a smart city concept is completely missing. The living spaces, the green spaces. And then, thankfully, we have some sacred living spaces. Our Pahadi Sharif, if you go, look at that around that, rocks, trees, and go and observe the trees. You will find at least 100 kinds of animals living over there in that one tree, doing something. I am on the state level tree protection committee for the government. They say, madam, ek hi jhaad hai na, kaatne do na. But that ek hi jhaad, I tell that engineer, you're looking at the jhaad as just ek hi jhaad, it's done. No, last slide. Ek hi jhaad hai, that jhaad has so much of life on it. So how important it is. We have different, luckily because of our Indian ethos, we are still able to conserve whatever biodiversity we have. We are the 7th largest mega diverse countries of the world. So we create such kind of places for people to live, for animals to live. Animal friendly infrastructure, the old architecture. Earlier, the sparrows were getting space to live in these small vents, whatever we had. Today, it's all glass and steel. Where will the sparrow go? It's not because of microwave radiation. It's a very wrong concept. Microwave radiation agar hota, cell phone towers ka radiation hota, to other animals also should have been impacted. Again, another thought to leave you with. So who was ruling our world? There are people, some very good-minded people who are doing excellent work on protecting sparrows in the city. Many more activities are happening, bird days, great bird day. There are tree protection committee. We have biodiversity park, which is just next door to us. And I want to see your contribution in the biodiversity park, which I will discuss with your professors and go on how can you come and help me in the biodiversity park, which is at Gachibowli. And I would like to invite all of you as citizens to participate with organizations like WWF. Not only WWF, there are many others who work on green spaces, who work on biodiversity. Come and intern with us. We also invite internships. We invite volunteers. Come and work with us to improve our cities' biodiversity, improve our cities' green. So, to leave you with this last slide, what I read from one of the books, which was by EPG. He was a very, very famous wildlife person. In his book on wildlife of India, he said, I wonder sometimes what these animals and birds think of man and how they would describe him if they had the capacity to do so. I rather doubt if their description would be very complimentary to men. I don't think the birds and animals think greatly about us. So thank you very much. That was my last slide. Should I remove this?
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया मुहतरमा फरीदा तंपल साहिबा। बहुत अहम मैसेज दिया है मैम ने स्टूडेंट्स के लिए कि ये बेहतर है कि आप लोग फ़ोन और इंस्टा से ज़्यादा नेचर के साथ टाइम स्पेंड करें तो आप लोग बेहतर कंसंट्रेट कर पाएंगे। बहुत अहम मैसेज दिया है मैम ने। वर्ल्ड एनवायरनमेंट डे के मौके पर आपने नेचर की बहुत सारी छुपी हुई खूबसूरत हिडन जेम्स के बारे में बताया, जिससे कि हम एनवायरनमेंट के एस्थेटिक वैल्यू के बारे में और नज़दीक से जान पाए। थैंक यू मैम। बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग और बहुत इंगेजिंग लेक्चर था आपका, जिसमें आपने बड़ी दिलचस्प हक़ाइक़ के बारे में बताया जो थोड़े से हैरत अंगेज़ भी थे और थोड़े अफसोसनाक भी थे, जिस पे हम सबको गौर फ़िक्र करना चाहिए। अब मैं सदारती कलमात के लिए हमारे शेखुल जामिया साहब जनाब प्रोफेसर सैयद ऐनुल हसन साहब को दावत देना चाहूँगी कि वो आएँ और अपने अहम ख़यालात से हमें रखें।
फरीदा जी, कृष्णा जी, प्रोफेसर रहमतुल्लाह पीवीसी, मकसूद साहब किंग अब्दुल अजीज़ यूनिवर्सिटी से, शकील साहब سلمان صاحب اور عراق خان بغیر نام لیے تو ہو نہیں سکتا نا، اس لیے کہ میرے عزیز ساتھیوں، دوستوں، میرے اسٹوڈنٹس، ہم سب اینیمل لورس ہیں. کبھی کبھی حد سے گزر جاتے ہیں، جہاں منع کیا گیا ہے وہ بھی کام کرنے لگتے ہیں. ابھی کچھ دنوں کی بات ہے، میرا بیٹا جی اس نے دلی یونیورسٹی سے BA فائنل ایئر، اس کا رزلٹ نہیں آیا، ایگزام ہو گیا. ہمارے دلی والے مکان میں JNU، ہم لوگ کے ایبسنس میں 2 بلیوں سے ان کو پیار ہو گیا. اب وہ ہر روز ان کے لیے خود تو دودھ پی نہیں رہے ہیں، بلیوں کو پلا رہے ہیں. اب ایک سے ایک کھانا ان کو دے رہے تھے. ایک دن بھول گئے دینا، اور جا کے ان کے سر پر ہاتھ رکھ دیا، سہلانے لگے. اس نے ایک نے پنجہ مار دیا، پوری اسکن اور بلڈ نکلنے لگا. بھاگ کے گئے ہیلتھ سینٹر، وہاں ان کو اینٹی ریبیز لگانے پڑے. لیکن ان کا پیار نہیں چھوٹا. ابھی بھی موبائل سے اس بلی کی آوازیں آتی رہتی ہیں. جب بھی ہوتا ہے تو اپنی زبان میں بھی میاؤں میاؤں کرتے ہیں. میں آپ کو ایک واقعہ بتاؤں JNU کا. JNU میں بہت بڑی سینچری ہے برڈ کی. کافی مائگریٹری برڈس آتی ہیں وہاں پر، اور اس میں طرح طرح کے اینیملس بھی ہیں. میں نے اس میں اپنے زمانے میں ایک زمانے میں اس میں ہرن بھی دیکھا. ساہی وغیرہ بہت ہیں جن کے سب پنکھ نکیلے ہوتے ہیں. نیل گائے بہت ہیں. نیل گائے بے حد خطرناک بھی ہیں، لیکن یہ ہے کہ بغیر چھیڑے کچھ نہیں. لیکن ان کا جمپ میں نے دیکھا ہے. بڑے بڑے ہیچ جو ہیں اس کے اوپر سے وہ جمپ کر جاتے ہیں. آپ چھوٹی سی اسپیس میں وہ جمپ کر جاتے ہیں. بڑا انٹرسٹنگ لیکچر تھا فریدہ جی کا. ایک واقعہ میں آپ کو بتاتا ہوں. ہمارے یہاں ڈاگ لورس بہت ہیں کیمپس میں، اور NGOs بہت ہیں. دیکھتے رہتے ہیں، گنتے رہتے ہیں کہ کتنے کتے ہیں. اب میں نے آپ یہ سمجھ لیجئے کہ برابر کی پاپولیشن ہوگی ہر گلی ہر کوچے میں، اور ان کو کھانا کھلانے والے بھی ہیں. ان کے لیے کارنرز بنے ہوئے ہیں جہاں پر ان کو فیڈنگ کے لیے کہا گیا ہے. اور بہت سارے لوگ ہیں جو اپنے کھانے پکوا کے اچھے کھانے لاتے ہیں، ان کو دیتے ہیں، ثواب ملتا ہے ان کو. ان کا یہی پیشن ہے. اور جس دن وہ نہیں آتے، مان لی بیمار ہو گئے، کیا ہو گیا، اس دن وہ کاٹتے ہیں لوگ. اسے کھانا چاہیے انہیں. خواہشات تو آپ جانتے ہیں ان کی زیادہ ہیں آپ سے زیادہ. اب وہ بھرے ہیں چاروں طرف. جس لوکیلٹی میں چلے جائیے، 1100 ایکرز میں JNU ہر طرف. اب وہ جو گاڑی آتی ہے تو وہ سمجھ لیتے ہیں کہ اب ہماری خیر نہیں، تو وہ سونگھ لیتے ہیں. اور پھر آپ ان کو دستگیر نہیں کر سکتے، کیوں بھائی صحیح ورڈ ہے، اسیر نہیں کر سکتے. چلیے، دستگیر نہیں کہتا. اب وہ کیا کرتے ہیں، شاید ہی کوئی آدمی وہاں بچا ہو کہ جس کے بدن پر ان کے نشان امتیاز نہ ہو. کوئی نہ کوئی جو ہے وہ اس واقعے سے گزرا ہے. لیکن اس کے بعد بھی لو ہے. ایک لڑکی کا واقعہ بیان کروں میں. وہ گوداوری ہاسٹل میں تھی. باہر نکلتی تھی نیلگری. اس میں سب سے پہلے وہ کتے کو چومتی تھی، پھر وہ کلاس میں جاتی تھی، لائبریری جاتی تھی. ہوا یہ، ایک دن جب وہ لائبریری سے آئی تو وہ گاڑی آئی تھی، پکڑ کے اس کتے کو لے گئی. کافی لے گئی، کافی مینس تھا ان کا. اب وہ لڑکی آئی تو اس نے ٹامی ٹامی آواز دینا شروع کیا. وہ نہیں ملا. ایک لڑکی نے بتایا تمہارا کتا تو وہ لے گئے. بس وہیں وہ بیٹھ گئی دھرنے پر اور رونے دھونے لگی، اب میں مر جاؤں گی. اب صاحب شام تک پورا ایڈمنسٹریشن بیٹھا اور اس کتے کو کیسے لایا جائے اس پر سوچنے لگی. اینڈ بلیو می، آؤٹ آف 3 persons میرا بھی ایک سلیکشن ہوا کہ آپ کتے کو ڈھونڈ کے لائیے. اب ہم 3 لوگ 3 پروفیسرز اور اس لڑکی کو لے کے گئے. جس جگہ انہوں نے چھوڑا تھا وہ جھگی جھوپڑی تھی, اس میں جا کے ڈال دیا تھا. اب وہ لڑکی جو تھی وہ اچھا اندھیرا ہو رہا تھا اور وہ لڑکی بھاگی جا رہی تھی, ٹامی 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 ٹامی. ہمیں ڈر یہ تھی کہ یہ عجیب لوگ رہتے ہیں ادھر, عجیب قسم کے لوگ ہیں ادھر, جھگی جھوپڑی کے اندر ہے, کدھر گھس جائے کیا ہو جائے. تو ہم لڑکی کے پیچھے بھاگ رہے تھے, وہ کتے کے پیچھے بھاگ رہے تھے. الٹیمیٹلی اس کو مل گیا اور وہ گلے لگا کے جو روئی ہے اس سے آپ سمجھیں. پھر کسی نے ہمت نہیں کی JNU میں کہ پھر گاڑی منگا سکے یا کتوں کو دور کر سکے. آج بھی بدستور ان کی زندگی برقرار ہے. ہم بھی ہیں, مگر قدرت نے کچھ چیک اینڈ بیلنس بنایا ہے. جو ایکو سسٹم ہے, اس ایکو سسٹم میں بہت ساری ذمہ داریاں ہماری ہیں. ہم بھی صبح جس وقت ان پرندوں کی آوازیں آتی ہیں تو بہت خوش ہوتے ہیں. آپ کی آواز, آپ جو گاتے ہیں, بھلے ہی باتھ روم میں گاتے ہوں, مگر آپ کی جو سریلی آواز نکلتی ہے اس میں کتنا حظ ہے. کبھی ان کی آوازیں سن کے ارلی مارننگ میں ڈان کے وقت دیکھیے, کیا لطف آتا ہے. یہ ہمارا جو نظام قدرت ہے یہ اتنا خوبصورت ہے. ہم بات کر رہے ہیں, ادھر دھواں نکل رہا ہے, ادھر چمنیوں سے کچھ ہو رہا ہے, ادھر کاروں سے کچھ ہو رہا ہے, ادھر مکان بن رہے ہیں, ادھر سیمنٹ لگ رہی ہے, لوہا لگ رہا ہے, پیڑ کٹ رہے ہیں, آکسیجن کم ہو رہی ہے. بھئی یہ سب تو ہم نے دیکھ لیا. ابھی مقصود صاحب نے پورا ڈیٹا دے دیا وہاں پر, یہ ہو گیا, یہ ہو گیا, یہاں میٹنگ ہوئی, وہاں میٹنگ ہوئی, یورپ میں ہوئی, امریکہ میں ہوئی, انڈیا میں ہوئی. جو کرکس ہے وہ یہ ہے کہ کیا واقعی ہم میں اویئرنیس آ گئی؟ کیا واقعی ہم یہ نہیں چاہتے؟ ابھی میڈم بھی کہہ رہی تھیں کہ وہ اربنائزیشن ہو رہا ہے چیزوں کا. سمٹ کے جو ریورل ایریاز کے لوگ ہیں وہ اربن ایریاز میں کیوں آ رہے ہیں؟ اسی کی اپارچونیٹیز نہیں ہیں وہاں, یہاں اپارچونیٹیز ہیں. اور ہر آدمی ایمبیشس ہے, ہر آدمی ایک عالیشان محل تیار کرنا چاہتا ہے. رحمت اللہ صاحب کے پاس اتنی بڑا مکان ہے مگر تسلی نہیں ان کو. یہ بھی ایک خوبصورت محل ضرور بنانا چاہتے ہیں. جھگڑے ابھی خوابوں میں بنا رہے ہوں, لیکن کل ہو سکتا ہے بن جائے. دیکھیے میں بات جو کہہ رہا ہوں وہ آپ نہیں ہیں سر. یہ جو آدمی ایمبیشس ہے نا, اوور ایمبیشس ہے, وہ زیادہ سے زیادہ کر لے, زیادہ سے زیادہ ہو جائے, اسی نے سارا معاملہ خراب کیا ہے. ہم نے یہ سمجھا ہی نہیں کہ یہ جو درخت ہیں یہ ہمارے لیے کیا کر رہے ہیں, یہ جو پرندے ہیں یہ ہمارے لیے ہمیں کیا دے رہے ہیں. ہم نے کبھی سیکریٹ انوائرمنٹ کے بارے میں نہیں سوچا. ہمارے ہولی اسکرپچرز میں لکھا ہوا ہے, ہم نے ان کا انٹرپریٹیشن نہیں کیا. فلورا اینڈ فونا ہے ہمارے یہاں, بہت گفتگو ہے فلورا اینڈ فونا. میں جمنا کنارے پیدا ہوا, گنگا کنارے پلا بڑھا. الہ آباد میں پیدا ہوا, بنارس میں ابھی بھی میرا مکان ہے, بنارس میں گنگا کے کنارے مکان ہے. میں جانتا ہوں بچپن میں جب تھے 6-7 برس کے تھے تو وہ ناؤ میں بیٹھ کے بیچ گنگا میں جاتے تھے اور وہاں سے پانی پی لیتے تھے. مگر اس کے 10 سال بعد جب وہاں گئے تو کائیاں تھیں اس میں, بیچ گنگا میں کائیاں تھیں. پولوشن کے لیے گنگا ایکشن پلان بنا اور کیا کیا بنا, بہت پیسے خرچ ہوئے اور کسی صورت سے تھوڑے دن کے لیے صفائی ہو گئی. 80s میں آ کے دیکھا کہ اس کے اندر تھوڑا صاف پانی ہے, مگر آج پھر وہی حالت. خوب پیسہ لگتا ہے, گورنمنٹ مستقل اس میں لگی ہوئی ہے. گھاٹ بنایا ہے انہوں نے, پتھروں کے گھاٹ بنائے ہیں, پچکوسی بنائی ہے 5 کلومیٹر تک جو جاتے ہیں پیدل جو لوگ ہیں. مگر ہم میں کچھ نہ کچھ چیزیں لیک کرتی ہیں. ابھی میڈم نے کہا کہ گھر کے اندر تو بہت خوبصورت ہے, سب کچھ لگا ہے, لیکن گھر کے باہر جاؤ گے تو وہ کوڑے پڑے ہوئے ہیں. ان کو کون اٹھائے گا؟ ہم ہی ہیں جو وہاں پولیتھین ڈال دیتے ہیں. ایک پولیتھین کسی درخت کے اوپر اگر ایک پولیتھین لٹکی ہے, آپ سوچ رہے ہیں کہ وہ کتنا نقصان کر رہی ہے آپ کو. ہمیں یہ ریئلائز کرنا چاہیے, فرام ود ان ہم کو ریئلائز کرنا چاہیے. آپ کے لیے بہت, اب میں ایڈریس کر رہا ہوں آپ سے, بہت خوبصورت آپ کو کیمپس ملا ہوا ہے. میں تو ریکویسٹ کروں گا بایو ڈائیورسٹی پارک کے لیے آپ سے ریکویسٹ کروں گا. ہم نے ہائی وے نے ہم کو جدا کر دیا ہمارے واٹر باڈی سے, اس کو ہمیں پھر سے پریزرو کرنا, اس واٹر باڈی کو کوئی نہ کوئی صورت اختیار کریں اس بایو ڈائیورسٹی کے تھرو ہی. اور یہ ورلڈ انوائرمنٹ ڈے جو 5 جنوری کو تھا, اس کی مناسبت سے نیکسٹ ایئر جب ہم 5 جنوری کو ورلڈ انوائرمنٹ ڈے منانے لگے تو ہمارے پاس ایک بایو ڈائیورسٹی پارک ہے. ہمیں بہت اچھا لگا. ایک لڑکی نے پی ایچ ڈی کی ہے اور اس نے اس کے اوپر ایک خوبصورت سا پیڑ بنایا. وہ میرے پاس آئی اور ایک ایپلیکیشن لے کے آئی کہ میں یہ چاہتی ہوں کہ یہاں سے مانو سے جو بھی اسٹوڈنٹ پی ایچ ڈی کر کے جائیں, وہ اپنی تھیسس کے شروعات کے کسی پیج کے اوپر ایک تصویر ایک پیڑ کی ضرور لگا دیں, اور ایک سیمپل جا کے دیوار وہاں زمین میں اس کے نام سے جا کے ایک پیڑ کو بو دیں. مجھے بہت اچھا آئیڈیا لگا. آئی ایم ٹیکنگ اٹ ٹو دی ایگزیکٹو کاؤنسل فار اپروول. اسی طرح سے ہم چھوٹا چھوٹا کر کے دوسروں کے لیے, اپنوں کے لیے ایک خوبصورت انوائرمنٹ تیار کر سکتے ہیں. ہم چاہتے تھے کہ ایک بڑا اسٹیڈیم بنے, مگر وہاں راکس ہیں, ان راکس کو ڈسٹرائے کرنا ہوگا. ہم یہ بھی نہیں چاہتے کہ راکس کو ڈسٹرائے کریں اور بڑا اسٹیڈیم بنا دیں. اس لیے ہم نے اسی کو رکھا ہے جہاں پر ہمارا اسٹیڈیم ہے, اسی کو ڈیولپ کرنے کے لیے سوچا ہے. اور ہم نے ٹائی اپ کیا ہے حیدرآباد کرکٹ ایسوسی ایشن سے. وہ بہت جلدی وہ کام ہو جائے گا. یہاں بیٹھی ہیں محترمہ ہماری سنیم فاطمہ, پروفیسر سنیم فاطمہ, پروفیسر شکیل صاحب بیٹھے ہیں. یہ کام آلموسٹ ہونے والا ہے. 1 سال کے اندر آپ دیکھیں گے کہ یہ, تو اس کو بھی ہمیں پریزرو کرنا ہے. اور ایک راک تو ہمارا دل ہے, یہاں اس کا نام ہے پتھر دل. لیکن یہ غزل میں نہیں آئے گا پتھر دل. سنگ دل جو ہے وہ ہم کہہ سکتے ہیں, لیکن پتھر دل نہیں کہتے, ہم سنگ دل کہتے ہیں. یہ کمبینیشن ہائیبریڈ اچھا غزل کے لیے. بڑے سنگ دل ہیں, مگر ہمیں پریزرو ضرور کرنا ہے انوائرمنٹ کو. ہم چاہتے ہیں کہ یہاں بھی ایک کوئی کسی جگہ پر, ہم قطعی نہیں چاہتے پیڑوں کو ڈسٹرائے کرنا. حیدرآباد یونیورسٹی میں بھی یہی بات ہے. ان کے پاس واٹر باڈیز بہت ساری ہیں, لیکن ایک بھی وہ ڈسٹرائے کرنا نہیں چاہتے. وہ راؤ صاحب کہہ رہے تھے کہ ان کو پریزرو کرنا ہے. تو ہم بھی اپنے انوائرمنٹ کو پریزرو کرنے کے لیے کچھ نہ کچھ کر سکتے ہیں. سعدی نے کہا تھا کہ درختی کے اکنوں گرفتس پائے, بے نیروی شخصی برایا زجائے, وگر ہمچنان روزگاری حلی ز گردونش اس بیخ برنکسن. The newly grown up tree can be uprooted by the strength of one single man. آپ اپروٹ کر دیجیے اسے, بچہ بھی اکھاڑ دے, نیولی گرون اپ پلانٹ. بٹ if you leave it for a longer time, even with the help of a sharp instrument, you would not be able to cut it off, to uproot it. Now یہ ہے, تھوڑے دن کے لیے ہمیں انتظار کرنا چاہیے. جو آم ہم نے جے این یو میں لگایا تھا ہمیں نہیں ملا, لیکن اب جو آکوپائی کرے گا اس کو ملے گا. یہی سوچ اپنے پاس رکھنی چاہیے. ہم نہیں, ہمارے بعد صحیح, آنے والے دور میں صحیح, دوسرے اس سے فائدہ اٹھائیں. یہی ہماری بھی دعا ہے, یہی ہم سب کی دعا ہے. بہت بہت شکریہ.
بہت بہت شکریہ. محبت کریں اور اس کی بہتری کے لیے کچھ نہ کچھ کر سکیں. آپ نے صحیح فرمایا سر کہ سحر کے وقت جب چڑیوں کی ہم آوازیں سنتے ہیں تو وہ بہت پازیٹیو وائبز ہم میں دیتی ہیں. تو ہمیں وہ مس نہیں کرنا چاہیے اور اس کو انجوائے کرنا چاہیے. آپ کے خیالات نے یقیناً یہاں بیٹھے سبھی کو سوچنے پر مجبور کر دیا اور سب میں بیداری پیدا کر دی کہ ہم زیادہ سے زیادہ پیڑ لگائیں اور ہمارے انوائرمنٹ کو خوبصورت بنا سکے. آپ نے ماحول کے تحفظ اور بہتری کے لیے کچھ کرنے کے لیے ہم سب کو میسج دیا جو آئی تھنک ہم سب کو فالو کرنا چاہیے. بہت بہت شکریہ سر. اب میں دعوت دینا چاہوں گی اس پروگرام کے کنوینر ڈاکٹر قاسم اللہ صاحب کو کہ وہ ایک فارمل اظہار تشکر پیش کریں.
بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. مہمان خصوصی محترمہ فریدہ تمپا صاحبہ، اسٹیٹ ڈائریکٹر WWF حیدرآباد. کی نوٹ اسپیکر جناب ڈاکٹر مقصود ملک صاحب، کنگ عبدالعزیز یونیورسٹی سعودی عرب. مہمان اعزازی بحد العزیز جناب شیخ الجامعہ پروفیسر عین الحسن صاحب، نائب شیخ الجامعہ رحمۃ اللہ صاحب، جناب پروفیسر سلمان احمد خان صاحب، دین برائے اسکول آف سائنس، جناب پروفیسر شکیل احمد صاحب، کوآرڈینیٹر اس پروگرام کے، اور عزیز طلبہ طالبات اور تمام سامعین، السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. آپ تمام کو عالمی یوم ماحولیات ورلڈ انوائرمنٹل ڈے 2022 کے لیے بہت بہت دلی مبارکباد. معاف کیجیے گا، ڈاکٹر وامشی کرشنا صاحب ڈپٹی ڈائریکٹر WWF بھی اس پروگرام میں شامل ہیں. میں محترمہ فریدہ تمپا صاحبہ، جناب ڈاکٹر مقصود ملک صاحب اور جناب شیخ الجامعہ پروفیسر عین صاحب کا بہت مشکور و ممنون ہوں، جنہوں نے اپنی تمام مصروفیت کے باوجود ہم تمام کو اپنا قیمتی وقت دیا اور اس پروگرام کو کامیاب کرنے میں حوصلہ افزائی کی. آج کے اس پروگرام کے مہمان خصوصی محترمہ فریدہ تمپا صاحبہ، جناب ڈاکٹر مقصود ملک صاحب، جنہوں نے بہت اہم جانکاری دی اور خاص کر کے آج کے اس پروگرام سے متعلق. ان کا بھی اپنی جانب سے تمام اسکول آف سائنس کے اساتذہ، غیر تدریسی عملہ اور مانو برادری کی جانب سے بہت ممنون اور مشکور ہوں، جنہوں نے اس پروگرام میں شرکت کرنے کے لیے ہم لوگوں کا دعوت نامہ قبول کیا اور اپنے زرین خیالات سے نوازا. میں ڈین برائے اسکول آف سائنس جناب پروفیسر سلمان احمد خان صاحب اور کوآرڈینیٹر شکیل احمد صاحب کا بھی تہہ دل سے شکر گزار ہوں، کیونکہ انہوں نے اس پروگرام کو منعقد کرنے اور اس کو کامیاب کرنے کے لیے وقت فوقتاً اسکول آف سائنس کے سبھی اساتذہ کے ساتھ میٹنگ کی اور ان کے مشورے کے مطابق اس پروگرام کو اس مقام تک پہنچایا. میں اپنے اسکول آف سائنس کے سبھی تدریسی و غیر تدریسی عاملہ کا بھی شکر گزار ہوں، کیونکہ آپ لوگوں کی کوششوں کے بنا یہ پروگرام ناممکن تھا اور آپ تمام نے بخوبی اس پروگرام میں حصہ لیا اور اس پروگرام تک اس مقام تک پہنچا ہے. آخر میں IMC مانو کی پوری ٹیم کا بھی شکر گزار ہوں اور خاص کر کے ڈائریکٹر جناب رضوان صاحب کا، جنہوں نے اس پروگرام کو منعقد کرنے کے لیے اور خاص کر کے YouTube کو لائیو پروگرام ٹیلی کاسٹ کرنے میں بہت محنت کی اور ہمارا بہت اور اپنا تعاون دیا. اس کے لیے بھی میں ان سب کا شکر گزار ہوں. جے ہند. شکریہ.
بہت بہت شکریہ ڈاکٹر قاسم اللہ صاحب. جی ہاں، اس کے ساتھ ہی ہم آج کے اس پروگرام کے اختتام کی طرف آ چکے ہیں. اب میں گزارش کرنا چاہتی ہوں IMC ٹیم سے کہ وہ قومی ترانہ پیش کریں. آپ سب سے گزارش کرتے ہیں کہ آپ لوگ اپنی اپنی جگہ پہ کھڑے ہو جائیں.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
अब मैं आप सबसे गुजारिश करती हूँ कि यहाँ मौजूद तमाम पार्टिसिपेंट्स और तमाम डिग्नेटरीज प्लीज़ पॉलिटेक्निक बिल्डिंग के सामने तशरीफ़ ले चलें, वहाँ पर सैपलिंग के प्लांटेशन का प्रोग्राम किया गया है।